somebody, if you want to get into the business world and if you're trying to have a career in any level of finance, and really any career that you want, it behooves you to spend as much time with these two individuals because they are the proof that a career in life is not a contradiction to complete dedication to the creator of the universe, and the use of resources that you are given is given in order to make this world better for God. And the truth of the matter is, I'm a nobody, and I'm only here because I get to spend a little bit of time under the aura of these two individuals. And I mean it. When Ellie Horn gets up and says, he want everyone to get it. He told God he's giving 60% of his money to charity. I want everyone to understand what that means. And then God gave him more money, and he would not break his promise. You will never meet anybody in your life like that man, ever. When Aaron Wolfson is being called by every human being in the earth for everything he's doing, and he is focused on one detail of one program because he wants each and every one of you to feel the excitement that he feels when he could delegate it 100 times, but he is in it at 2 a.m. You will never meet anybody in your life like these two individuals. And before you leave our world called Olami, to think that you can have a life in which the spiritual world and the physical world are one exists here. And to have any less of a standard is allowing us to not live the life that we can live. And if you needed proof, they're in this room together. Michael and LeBron are playing in the same game. I'm just saying. They don't know that.
Who's Michael?
Who's Michael? That's what they're saying. Who's Michael? Okay, let me just share with you an idea. Stick with me for a few minutes. We are already now in the most challenging period of time of the Jewish people. We're what's called the 3 weeks. And we're entering into an era of time called the 9 days, which will culminate in what is supposed to be the most intense day of the year, a day called Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is the day that is destined for destruction. We lost our temples. Terrible things happen on that day. We almost center the year around the challenge of a day that is a 25-hour super fast. When God wants our attention, what does he do? He messes with our food because he created us and he knows how much we love our food. 25 hours no eating, he's like, pay attention. The only time that happens again is Yom Kippur. What could have happened on this day that was so bad? So I want to take you to the origin story because it doesn't seem so bad. The origin story of this day called Tisha B'Av took place in the desert. The Jews come out of Egypt. Life's amazing. The last year in Egypt, God was proof of miracles that you can't believe. Grasshoppers, lice, and water, and then as they get out, it's like, you think that's good? Watch this. There's a sea. What are we gonna do? There's no boardwalk. There's no hotel. What are we doing here? Let's just wait. Boom. Splits it. They walk through. Jews are going crazy. You walk into Mount Sinai, gives them the Torah. There's manna from heaven. There's miracles everywhere, and he moves them to the banks of what is now modern day Israel. And he turns to the Jewish people and he says, we're going to go take this land. And the Jews go, I can't wait to see what you got up your sleeve, man, because you were awesome in Egypt. Like, I don't know if you bring out the grasshoppers again, the wild, the tigers, the bear are cool, like we shut on the lights again. And God goes, oh no, you didn't get the memo? You guys are fighting. And they said, what? Like, we don't speak Hebrew yet. What are you talking about fighting? Like, we're Jews. We can negotiate for you. We can sue them if you want. We can out-eat them. We can probably heal them if they get injured. But you know what we can't do? We're not a tough people. You'll never, ever, ever see a bunch of yeshiva guys get out of yeshiva and then the bar lets out and the tattoo guys go, yeah, I don't want to mess with yeshiva guys. Let's cross the street. We're just not a tough people. You put an IDF uniform, we get tougher. We're never on the field. You know what I'm talking about? Any field you look at, we may be in the owner's box, but we're not on the field. That's not what we do. We're like, no, we can't fight this. We send in spies. We're gonna know the story? Spies go in, spies come out. And spies bring the whole Jewish people in front of them and say, we walked in, we're giants, there's walled cities, it ain't gonna happen, we're gonna die. What do the Jews do? They cry. And that night, God says, you cried for nothing, you will cry for eternity, for generations. That's it. That moment, that story, is now the center of the night that was destined for destruction. Let me ask you a question. Does that story sound so bad? Anybody bothered by that story? Like, they walked in, they saw giants, they came out, they cried, and God got so upset? You cried for nothing? You're gonna cry? That sound, I was giving a speech once 15 years ago in Detroit, Michigan. Are you from Detroit? You see Detroit? You see. There's a guy sitting there. It was an organization called NCSY. There's a kid in the back. I'll never forget him. He had shaved head, black turtleneck, jeans, he looked like Eminem. He raises his hand. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a Q&A, but when Eminem raises his head, I'm like, yes. So he goes, what? God didn't say that. I'm like, whatever you say, bro. Okay, God didn't say that. So he goes, I'm like, how do you know? He goes, wait, God said, because you cry for nothing, you're scared, you cry forever? That doesn't sound like a loving God. That sounds like my dad. I'm like, bro, I don't know. What goes on in the parts of the business? I don't know. That's how it makes sense to anybody? We know God's a loving God. Imagine the kid doesn't want, you take the kid to the amusement park, your little kid, and you go on the big ride. The kid comes down and goes, Daddy, I don't want to, starts crying. You go, you didn't go on the ride? You cried for this? Now you're gonna cry forever. They lock you up in child services for that stuff. That makes sense? The Jews walk in, they see giants, they come out crying. God goes, you did what? You cried? You messed the wrong guy. What's going on? There's a little clue in this story that's critical. When the Jews came out and they give the report, they drop a clue as to what they were thinking. And for those who are in Lakewood, it's going to sound reminiscent to what we spoke about, because it's the same theme. You see, there's two types of destruction. There's destruction for what I have, and there's destruction for what I have not been able to tap into. If you have something, you can destroy it. If I have a bottle of wine, if I have a car, I can destroy it. But what if I have $1 million and I never use it? Is it destruction? What if I've been given an entire opportunity to tap into a resource and I never tap into it? Someone tells me that under my house is an oil well and I never dig into it. Is that destruction? Of course it's destruction. There's destruction for what I have, but there's another level of destruction which is so much greater, which is the destruction of the thing that I can get, the potential that is possible. I've been given an allocation of something, and I never once went to it. I am destroying my chances of becoming the thing or tapping into that thing that I have access to. The Jewish people walk in and come out, they say the story of there's giants, and along the way they drop the clue as to what they were really thinking. And I'll say it in Hebrew and I'll translate. They say, V'nihi be'einenu kechagavim. We walked in, and we were in our own eyes like grasshoppers. V'chein hayu be'eineihem. So then we must have been in their eyes, grasshoppers. I feel inadequate, so I must be inadequate. I feel like I can't, so that I must not be able to. And God says, who told you that you can't? Who told you that you're not able to? Because you feel like you can't? You're not doing something because you feel like you can't? How do you know if you could do something until you do it? What most people in life do is they judge what's in front of them by what's behind them. When they enter a challenge, they go, can I do this? They go to their memory and go, did I ever do this before? Let me see. There's nothing that I ever did. Oh, I never did this before. I must not be able to do the thing that's in front of me. God says, you want to know what destruction really is? It's not me doing it. I'm not beating you up. I am teaching you what crying is. You want to know what destruction really is? Is that you have been given a soul, And that soul is a piece of me, which means you have power inside you that you can never, ever appreciate. What you have inside you is a resource that is literally spiritual. The physical world can't tap into that. And what I'm going to do in life is place before you challenges that you don't know you can do. Because you've never done them before. Because that soul inside you can't come out until you push it and need to bring it out. Only challenge brings out your potential. Only challenge brings out your soul. So by definition, what's in front of you is something that you think you can't do. And if you don't do it, you are destroying your potential. If the only measure that we use for can I do is did I do, then there's nothing that I have in which that's going to draw deeper into what I always have inside me to bring out. I'm not destroying you, God says. I'm not out to get you. I am teaching you what destruction is. Destruction in your life, destruction in your potential, in your future marriages, in your careers, in your spirituality is the lack of understanding that what's inside me is greater than what I've done before. And when you hit the wall in front of you, when you see a giant or a fortified city, and you know, that's Israel, I should, but I don't know if I can. When you're ever in a situation where you should do something, but you think you can't, and you don't, that's called destruction. I'm not doing it. You're doing it. That's called fake tears. Fake tears is, I can't, without even trying. A Jew doesn't ask, can I? A Jew asks, should I? Because if I should, I will. And even if I fail, I'd rather fail in the should than not knowing to try. And I tell you something, and I said this earlier, if you want to know the life of Mr. and Mrs. Ellie Horn and Mr. and Mrs. Aaron Wilson and Aaron Wilson's father, Zeb Wilson, and you want to put it down to one, in my opinion, theme, they live their lives with the word should and not with the word can. Because they don't know what they can do. Because they don't, when you should do something, God gives you something, you tap into something inside you that you never would have tapped into, but for the fact that you did the thing that you should do. Life is a series of challenges that God puts in front of you that you think you can't do, period. If he didn't do it, you never grow. If you think you could do it, you did it yesterday, you don't gotta do it tomorrow. The difference between somebody who is a Jew that cries fake tears and lives in Tisha B'Av and a Jew that walks into the redemption into Israel is not whether they can or can't, it's whether they go in anyways. Because everyone feels like they can't. That's not a joke. I gotta tell you something. Right now, there are our brothers in Israel right now going into battle. Right now, as we sit around eating, there are Israelis that are going into towns with terrorists ready to kill them. You think these guys walk in like, we got this? You think they walk in and go like, this is nothing, honey, I'll be home in an hour? They feel like they can't. Why do they? Why do they? Why does every soldier in our history go into enemy's territory? Why? Because they should. And when you act with what you should do, you do incredible things. Tisha B'Av is when the Jewish people stopped and said, we can't. And God goes, you can't? Sit on the floor. Start fasting. No. Turn off the music. Fast. Why? It's not these people. That's not my people. Until you figure it out, until you get this, you're going to sit on the floor every single year. Until you wake up one morning and go, I'm done with this. I'm done with looking at giants and so on. My life is part of those few people. Those who came in the late when we spoke about what Kalev said. My life is one of those people that get up and say, Allah, Na'alev, and let's go do this. Let's go do this. All of you and me are placed in situations where we're not sure if we can. That's not the question. The question is, should we? And when you ask the question of should over can, you tap into the difference between redemption and destruction. Between the desert and Israel. Between the physical lens and the spiritual lens. Because a Jew believes in his core that what's inside me is greater than I've ever experienced before. And if you want to understand how our people got to this moment, we got to this moment on the backs of those few Jews that stared at a wall and said, we're going in anyways. That is your destiny. That is what's in your soul. Whether we see it or we don't, it don't matter. That's what it means when you say Geschmack, to be a Yid. It is amazing to be part of a nation with so much potential that I can't even begin to get started to scale the walls in front of me. No, nothing in the world compares to being part of this mission. As Mr. Horn said, that's why I'm here in this world, to scale the wall that's right in front of me. Because my wall and your wall are different walls. We all got our own deserts and our own Israels. We got all giants in front of us. Everyone's got a different giant to look at. But we're all the same that God puts a giant right in front of us. You know why? Because he's trying to make us the people we're meant to be. And there's nothing more geschmack than that. There's nothing greater than fighting a battle every day to find your mission in this world. Nothing. And I love the NFL, but no game could ever compare to your game. No dollar can ever buy that feeling. Nothing you can eat, nothing you can watch, nothing you can see will ever compare to the feeling of staring at a wall and saying, we're going in. Because I got something inside me that is spiritual, and I don't ask could, I ask should. And when you look at your life as a series of those moments, and you just say should and keep on walking, you don't even know when it happens. It just starts to happen. You start becoming a Jew that belongs in Israel. You start becoming a Jew that beats destruction. You start fixing that problem, piece by piece, person by person. Now, we dive for redemption every day. We're trying to fix that sin every day. And I gotta tell you, for me, when you look at a room like this, you believe it's possible. You really believe it's possible. And my blessing to each and one of you is never say, I'm not, because I came, I didn't come, I learned, I did. That's all the Yetzer Hara is saying, stop, relax. You're never going to be Mr. Horn. You're never going to be Aaron. Well, relax, tough guy. Jews don't do that. My blessing is that every day you wake up in the morning and you feel God's faith in you. And you stare at the walls that he places in front of you. No, I'm not crying tears of vain no longer. I know that mistake. In my lifetime, I'm not repeating that. Because my potential is too valuable to me to ever waste, because that's true destruction. And every day I'm going to pull a drop of that soul out. And every day I'm going to push a little harder. And I may fail, and I might hit the floor, and I may stumble, and I may fall. But I'd rather stumble and fall my whole life than ever once turn around and not know what I could have accomplished. And if we live that life every single day, we become part of those few people that were zocha, that were worthy of inheriting the land of Israel. If we did it together as a group, there is no telling what's happening in this world. I am sure God's looking down right now and loving this. And he ain't seen nothing yet. Because together, we can accomplish anything. May this year, with you guys, may instead of Tisha B'Av us fasting, may we be eating and partying. Because we finally saw that we got to fix this problem, and each and every one of us took upon ourselves to walk into our own personal results. And wherever you go in life, remember, just because you're not here, you're always an Olami. You're always part of this family. You never leave this family. And wherever you go, remember that what's inside you is much greater than we can even imagine. And our nation together can accomplish things that are incredible. And you, individually, no matter what your background is, can accomplish things you can't believe. If you live this way, you're truly, truly fixing that sin of Tisha B'Av.